What's going on, FA Nation? Welcome to the Fantasy Alarm DFS NBA live stream here on a Monday for an 11-game slate. James, injuries galore have been going on all day today. My phone has been blowing up. Everybody's either sitting, everybody's got personal issues. People are in, people are upgraded to doubtful. Guys are playing but will be on minutes. It is an absolute mess. So going into the podcast we did last night, like the entire Heat team was like questionable, and we're all like, yeah, we're going to play X, Y, and Z. And then the entire Heat team got ruled in, minus Whiteside. Like, there's just so many things, moving parts today. But you're our injury guy. I'm sure you have it all in a nice, neat, organized file to give us the rundown. So why don't you kick it off? Tell us who's actually playing today.
All right, so let's just end everything. Anthony Davis, we know, is questionable, which we kind of touched on the podcast last night. He has a bad history of playing on second nights of back-to-backs, that he's gotten injured the night before. I know he did return last night, but there's a reason why he's currently questionable. We know the Celtics, Kyrie, Hayward, Horford, all out. So fire up the Celtics value. They're all going to be chalky. There's contrarian ways in Boston, I feel, that we could approach. All the Heat guys are in. Dragic, Tyler Johnson, Wayne Ellington, Josh Richardson, all probable for tonight. We know Whiteside's out still, but all the guards are in, so we really can't play any of them because there's just too many. There's just so much clutter there. Rob Covington, was probable last night and has now been downgraded to a game-time decision. I think that impacts that game tremendously because he's their best perimeter defender, one of the best in the league. Jamal Crawford, questionable. Reggie Bullock is out. Stanley Johnson, questionable. Blake Griffin ruled out for rest, but he did have a knee yesterday, so that probably has more to do with it than just rest. Jamal Murray, game-time decision. Chris Dunn and Bobby Portis will play tonight for the Bulls, both coming off the bench. Again, another team that there was value once. There is no longer really anything that we are interested in, especially with how much turmoil is going on within the organization right now. TJ Warren is in, but restricted. So restricted. We can't believe anything the Suns have to say to us at this point. Draymond Green is in with no restrictions. John Wall out. Austin Rivers is starting in his place. Rodney Hood is questionable. Dennis Smith Jr. is out. DeAndre Ayton is in and starting. Joel Embiid is in. And Evan Fournier, about an hour before this live stream, was ruled out. Anthony Davis will play Monday. Stanley Johnson will not play tonight as of this very moment. So Davis in, Stanley Johnson out. Body parts galore.
Everything keeps moving.
Vegas. Let's just jump to Vegas real quick.
All right.
We saw a big jump, New Orleans, Boston. Obviously, because everyone from Boston is sitting. They're still 4.5-point favorites at home, which is kind of weird. That might be because Anthony Davis was questionable. But it's a 222. It started at 228. So significant drop there, 6 points. Detroit, Philly has dropped off 4 points down to 218 from 222. Utah, Oklahoma City, 218.5 is nice. That's risen 2.5 points. Chicago, Sacramento is 226. Clippers, Phoenix, 221. 10-point spread, though. Obviously not very trustworthy. Minnesota, Golden State is up 3 points, up to 229. 10.5-point spread, though. So, and if Rob Covington sits, that could be very scary. That could become a blowout very fast. Miami, Los Angeles, the Lakers up 3.5 points from last night, 221.5. Only a 5.5-point spread. That should be juicy. So we have some big totals. Washington, Indiana is nice, 217. Cleveland, Milwaukee, 219.5, but a 13-point spread. I really don't want anything to do with that game. Just solely based on that spread, I don't know who we can trust and who we can't. But yeah, 197 Memphis Denver. Don't let me throw that really juicy game. I can't forget that.
Last night? I feel like it was higher.
It was 198.5 down to 197. I didn't think 198.5 could get it. I didn't think things could go further south, but here we are at 6:05, and we have dropped 1.5 points.
Not ideal. Before we get to the slate and break everything down, let's talk to our sponsor here, Fantasy Factor. Want to play with us, the Fantasy Alarm crew? we're playing NBA on Wednesday night at Fantasy Factor. Fantasy Factor is a 100% single entry site, no sharks, just fun. If you own the NBA Playbook Pro, we support Fantasy Factor on all our tools, make winning lineups easier. Come have fun. Fantasyline.com/NBA contest. Fantasyline.com/NBA contest. Apparently, we have a big contest going on in Fantasy Factor on Wednesday. We'll definitely be part of that. Big slate on Wednesday to take advantage of it. So let's jump down. Let's kick it off. Start off on Monday at point guard. Russell Westbrook for me. I said in the playbook, I think he's my top spend up. With all the injuries, I understand that Anthony Davis is in a really good spot against the Celtics, who he's just absolutely dominated. But I don't know how competitive the Celtics team is going to be against that Pelicans team in full blow with no Kyrie, no Horford, and the likes there. Embiid now facing, Detroit. No Blake Griffin. I don't know how competitive that game is going to end up being. You have Giannis going against Cleveland. So for me, it's Westbrook versus Utah. You said it on the podcast last night. Westbrook averaged a triple-double last year against Utah, and he has 2 straight games with a triple-double this season. So for me, I think Westbrook's my number one payout.
Yeah, and I'm completely fine with that. He just comes in great form tonight, and he was dominant against them in the playoffs. We saw 2 back-to-back 40-15 games to end the series. I know it was in a losing effort, but that's obviously ideal. And this isn't the same defensive team we saw last year. Yes, Rudy Gobert is still there. He's still the reigning defensive player of the year. But, they've been exploitable at the rim this year, according to DVP. So I think Westbrook shouldn't have an issue getting past Rubio, Mitchell, whoever's on him, and getting to the rim whenever he wants. I think this is third straight triple-double. And like you said, it makes sense because with all this news, you can go to Durant if Covington plays. You can go to Davis, but you risk him potentially leaving the game at any point. And we just know Westbrook is just safe. He's just there. He's reliable. So, yeah, I love Russell Westbrook. And I think it's pretty easy because the next player down is Steph Curry at the position. And this could potentially be a blowout, especially if Covington doesn't play.
Right.
Minnesota's been very good defending point guards. I know it's not like Steph can't pop off versus anybody, but it's just too easy to go up to Westbrook, just given everything he's doing right now, given the matchup, and given the fact that Golden State could just blow this game out of the water.
For sure. And that's the one thing. It's a double-digit spread the last I looked at it. And though we know Curry can go off, as you said, and Minnesota's actually played well against the point guard. If you're going to spend that kind of money, especially on tonight's slate when there's just so much value, it's almost like you pay up for Westbrook and then you just spend down, right? Today is the ultimate stars and scrubs lineup builds because you can get yourself Westbrook plus, you mentioned Durant or LeBron is somebody I think you can pay up for tonight as well. I think him and Westbrook are my 2 favorite guys, but no John Wall tonight, which means Bradley Beal's in play. He's just an absolute monster where no Wall doesn't play. That's a good matchup for them against Indiana, but that also opens up Satoransky and Austin Rivers, 2 value plays at point guard. And again, no Kyrie Irving. That means Terry Rozier, Marcus Smart, value plays at point guard. Now, Rozier, obviously, as you mentioned on DraftKings, they have him priced up pretty high, but on FanDuel, he's still pretty cheap. So there's a lot of ways to go about it. So for me, it's Westbrook, and then it really just jumps down to the next tier. De'Aaron Fox against Chicago, I like. I actually like Ricky Rubio on the opposite side of that Thunder matchup. Derek Collison with no Wall. I like Collinson, against Washington. As we go further down, I think there are just better mid-tier plays aside from paying up for Westbrook, and then it's just down below from there.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the 3 Maverick point guards are all in play. If you want to spend up, Luka Doncic, I know he's a shooting guard on FanDuel, but he's still a point guard on DraftKings. 26% usage, 1.08 fantasy points per minute without DSJ on the floor. JJ Barea, 29.5% usage, 1.23 fantasy points per minute. And Jalen Brunson, who we've seen start back-to-back games, is nearly min salary and has given us 20-plus fantasy points in back-to-back games. He actually gave us nearly 30 against the Pelicans. We know teams have been destroying DJ Augustine at the point guard lately. it's really hard to ignore Jalen Brunson start. He's going to start again. We could probably project him. I mean, it's probably safe to say 25 to 30 minutes, like the last 2 games he's played, right? I mean, it's only trending up from there.
Yeah.
He played 25 minutes in a blowout too, and then 30 in a close game. So I think Jalen Brunson is one of the best values on the slate, and our projections don't have him highly owned. So if that's the case, I'm all in on Jalen Brunson, because if he can get us an upside of 30 fantasy points at near min salary, it's kind of a no-brainer.
No, I agree with you. And again, he was something that you pointed out. Great spot for him. Again, especially as you said, if Dennis Smith Jr. Doesn't end up playing, listed as doubtful, then that just boosts his value. So in on him, in on Colin Sexton. I know that tough matchup against Milwaukee, but he's gonna play all the minutes. I know Delladova's there tonight, but they're not gonna play Delly over Sexton in this game against Milwaukee. All the minutes should very well be his. Anybody else, or move on to shooting guard?
No, I think we touched it. Monty Morris if Jamal Murray sits.
Okay. Shooting guard, Drew Holiday at the top, but with Anthony Davis playing and just his matchup, I think I'm kind of off of him, especially with the fact that more than likely we're seeing a ton of Marcus Smart tonight. I think Smart's going to be the guy that's going to be all over a Drew Holiday here. Mentioned last time, especially on the podcast, about the matchup against New Orleans. It was a few weeks back now. The first time the Celtics went to this new starting five that had Smart in the lineup, he held Drew Holiday to his fewest shot attempts all season, and until last night, he caused the most turnovers for Holiday on the year. So tough matchup for him, but everybody's going to go to Bradley Beal and no John Wall. He's just the absolute chalk play. Crush spot against Indiana, no Oladipo. And then again, for me, it's like Bradley Beal. I don't think we can use Jimmy Butler anymore because of the matchup against Detroit. I don't think it's going to be too competitive. Zach LaVine, I think, is safe, but there's too many moving parts that I'm unsure about. Like, I feel that his role is safe. Like, no one's supplanting him at shooting guard, but I don't know what happens when Dunn gets on the floor. I don't know what happens when Portis gets on the floor, like how they react to having LaVine out there and how their shots and offense work. So I have to avoid the Bulls situation for now. And then again, it kind of just jumps down to that mid-tier, and we talked about it on the podcast. We have Bogdan, we have Klay Thompson, Buddy Hield. I think that's like the next sect of players I'm looking at.
Yeah, which is what we should go to, like Hield in tournaments, Bogdan, all formats. You can do Klay in tournament only if you think that game stays close. We know he has the upside, but like you said, the tier is ugly. I think it's nice to go if we just go down even further. We could just play someone like Terrence Ross without Evan Fournier now.
Terrence Ross, right? Yeah.
So sure. I mean, 30% usage rate without Fournier. We've been kind of touting him all year. It's hard to ignore the usage rate, especially when guys like Fournier sit and then Jonathan Isaac was out for an extended period of time. He's just going to get in and he's going to take shots. And if the shots start to fall, we have 20 real point upside, maybe even better than that. And if we get some peripherals, he's averaging nearly a steal per game. I mean, we could be in for a big night, under 5K. I really like Terrence Ross for tournaments tonight.
Yeah, I'm in on you with Terrence Ross there, and I think just below him is another guy we can look at with Alec Burks. Jordan Clarkson is dealing with some back soreness. They don't have Rodney Hood. Rodney Hood's questionable, right, to play tonight? Or is he
questionable? Yeah. Questionable.
So if all those guys end up being ruled out, well, we're already seeing Alec Burks play over 30 minutes a night. Production's been there. Definitely like him tonight. He's a really good player. He rebounds, scores in double figures, hands in with a couple assists, and he's got steals. I think there's been like 5 of the last 6 games. He got steals as well, just to add into the total. So I really like Alec Burks here. And then below him on FanDuel, Jaylen Brown, who since coming back has put up 2 really solid games. I don't know if he's going to be in the starting lineup tonight. I still think they may bring him off the bench.
They announced it.
Is he in the lineup?
Rozier, Smart, Tatum, Morris, Tice.
Yep, that's what I figured. So I actually like that. I like that Jalen's still coming off the bench because they're keeping him in the role that they want him to be in for the year, essentially. They want him to be that 6th man. He's played really well as that 6th man. And when he gets on the floor, I think he's going to be looking for a shot, getting to the hole. We know the Pelicans struggle against perimeter players. So I really think Jaylen Brown's in a good spot here. Plus,
now no Gordon Hayward in that second unit taking shots. Yeah, so it's literally just It's literally just Jalen.
He's going to get on the floor with like Brad Wanamaker and, I don't even know who else, Semi Ojeleye. Like this is why I'm not on the Pelicans. Going to shoot the ball. Yeah, this is why I'm not really on the Pelicans tonight because of who the Celtics are going to be forced to play a ton of minutes of. It's like, think of the Celtics at the end of last year with like a worse bench. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of off them, but I do like the value for Boston because they're going to have to play just so many minutes. Brown certainly fits that mold. Yeah,
I mean, again, I think like Rozier is obviously the chalk on FanDuel. Tice is the chalk across the board. I would say Tatum is going to be fairly chalky, especially in tournaments. Do we think Brown, is Brown the one overlooked? Like Marcus Smart is definitely going to be overlooked. I think Marcus Morris it's pretty fair to say Marcus Morris is going to be overlooked too because everyone's playing Tice.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jalen? Like Jalen's probably in the middle, right? Like if Tice is 40% and Smart is 5%, Jalen's probably like 15 to 20%, somewhere in that range.
What do we have him projected for over on Fantasyland? We have the ownership side right now.
13%.
Yeah, so you nailed it. It's pretty much right in the middle there. I think that's definitely a spot for him in GPPs. I think it's a good spot. We know we can go off. In the playoffs last year, him and Tatum were the two leading scorers. We saw Jalen go for 30 actual a couple times in the playoffs against the Bucks. So I mean, the scoring upside's there. If they have to get into some offense, I think that could be a way to go. Dunn and Portis will play 20 to 24 minutes off the bench tonight. Again, just muddies that whole situation up. Can't use them yet. It'll be interesting when that starting five gets fully healthy, though.
I don't even know because they're in such. Everything with that organization is a disaster. Yeah.
Okay. Further down, as we mentioned, Austin Rivers, he's $3,600 on FanDuel. Yep. Langston Galloway is somebody that I put up in the playbook today because he's taken 39 shots the last 2 games. I think he's starting. I'm pretty sure he's starting, given all the minutes he's playing. So he's very cheap. He's $3,500 min price on FanDuel. I think he's $3,300 on DraftKings. We have him projected to be one of the highest owned players of the slate, over 20% owned. So I think Galloway is someone to take a look at as a punt play, especially on FanDuel. Whereas if he doesn't do anything, the score doesn't count. But I think the shots will be there with no Blake Griffin around. I like him as well.
Well, it's just like they don't have anyone. There's not only Blake Griffin, but there's no backcourt mates.
Yep.
Stanley Johnson officially ruled out too.
Yep.
Ish Smith still ruled out. So it's him, it's Reggie Jackson, it's Bruce Brown, and that's really it. And maybe Luke Kennard. But I don't even know if Luke Kennard is in with the team or if he's still in the G League. He is.
No,
so I
he
guess
he played the other day, I think, right?
Yeah, 26 minutes. So he's been back and forth.
He didn't do anything those minutes though. So, but yeah, he's sort of in that rotation. But still, I mean, Galloway has been a nice little player at times. We've seen him go through stretches where he's been a viable option. So don't hate it. Small forward, we at the top here again: Giannis, LeBron, Durant, and George. LeBron for me is number one. I think just that matchup against the Heat becomes more competitive with everybody healthy for Miami, pretty much, except for their shot blocker, which I think bodes well for LeBron and getting to the hole there. If I have to go after that, I still think Giannis is a play. And you like Durant as long as Covington doesn't play. If Covington doesn't play, do you put him over Giannis?
Yeah, I think I'm fully avoiding this Cleveland game. Okay. It's just one of those games, 11-game slate. It's a 13.5-point spread in Milwaukee. I'm not saying Cleveland can't keep it close, but I don't know if they do. I understand Milwaukee played yesterday too, so maybe they're not totally fresh. Giannis played 37 minutes yesterday. Yeah. But Cleveland is so bad. They're so bad. So I'm probably just fading Giannis. And again, I play him and he scores 50. I don't play him, he scores 70. So maybe you guys want to take that for what it's worth. I would probably go LeBron, Durant, Giannis, no matter what. Even if Covington plays. almost. Because that spread, Giannis might not. At least Durant would could potentially play 4 quarters if Covington plays. I don't know if Giannis plays 4 quarters no matter what here, because I don't think this game stays close.
All right, I can get behind that. Also, a little bit further down the list, Paul George against Utah. What do you think about him? $8,800, sort of that tier B price tag.
I mean, I've never shied away from Paul George because of Russell Westbrook. He still gets all the usage. Russ still sets him up plenty of time. They're the only two people that really actually take shots on this team. Yeah. So, like, if anyone's like, oh, his upside isn't reached because of Westbrook, that's not just like he just had a 77-point game 2 games ago. So, like, please, like, get rid of that notion, throw it out, never bring it back. I think he's an excellent tournament play. I think it's really contrarian to, like, just do a little mini stack with him and Westbrook because, I mean, imagine they both go off again like they did versus Brooklyn, and they both give you 70. You have a leg up on the field because I don't know how much ownership he's going to garner. You know, Joe Ingles is considered a good defender. He might see Jay Crowder, who's considered a good defender. But George just does so much peripherally that he could make up for, like, if he scores 20 points, he could give us 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, and go for 55. Yeah. And be in a tournament winning lineup. So I like him for tournaments. Love him for tournaments, actually. Love him. Definitely contrarian. Yeah, I mean, just as a contrarian pivot to the guys up top. Because, everyone plays the most expensive guys. So just as a contrarian pivot.
All right, yeah, I can get behind that. Next tier below, Otto Porter, Danilo Gallinari, Nikola Mirotic. I would have liked Mirotic more had I known that Danny Davis is ruled out, so I don't think I'm going there. Gallinari versus Phoenix. I mean, I think Gallinari is very steady, but how many quarters is he going to play? He did play 33 minutes against Phoenix last time at a double-double, went for 54 fantasy points. Do we think that Phoenix, maybe with TJ Warren back, keeps it close? No.
He's restricted, too. So, like, yeah, he's back, but what happens if it's 25 minutes? And is he, like, I think he's a good player, but we also got to consider how bad he is defensively. So, like, if he plays 35 minutes, he might score 20 and he might give up 30. Or he might score 25 and give up 35. You don't know. This game could be a blowout. I don't think the Clippers are going to need to play their guys here for too long. I think Gallinari's fine. Like, if you have 6'8", I'm not going to, like, say, nah, don't do it. Yeah. But you could just go down to Otto Porter, who, without John Wall this year, is averaging over a fantasy point per minute. Yeah. Without Dwight Howard, he's aggressive on the glass. We've seen 2 double-digit rebounding games over his last 4. So I think that would just be the easier decision, just going to Porter. But you're not wrong with Gallinari's ability. I mean, you said he put up 50 against this horrible Phoenix team who ranks dead last in defensive.
Booker was part of that game. So, I mean, obviously worth throwing it, mentioning at least. But no, for sure, he's usually rather steady. Next group below them, I think for me, it's largely just Bojan. I think he's someone that's worth always taking into consideration at that price point. And then Hernan Gomez, Kyle Anderson. I like that trio on FanDuel. 57 for Hernan, 56 for Anderson, and Bojan 52. Even though I think he maybe has a higher ceiling than some of those guys.
Yeah, he's probably the safest. I don't know if you can pay $5,700 for Juancho in this matchup.
Doubles for him.
Yeah, and I'm not disputing the fact that, like, there's more everything for him. Like, there's no Millsap, there's no Barton, there's no Gary Harris, there might not be Jamal Murray. So, like, the ability to do it is there, but $5,700 in a 197.5 total scares me a little bit.
For you.
Yeah, like, I hate this position. Don't get me wrong. Like, I hate this value tier. DraftKings is obviously making it a lot easier because we can play guys like Trey Lyles at small forward. We can play guys like Terrence Ross. We can play Jaylen Brown. So, like, it's easier on DraftKings at small forward. Kyle Anderson, again, is in the same, like, kind of boat that Juancho's in. The total, he had the ceiling game and then stunk the bed. So I mean, I think Wilson Chandler could be okay down here, but I do not like this small forward position at all. At all.
I like Wilson Chandler with no Embiid. Now that Embiid's back, I'm pretty much off of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I kind of agree with you. I think maybe if you think that Sacramento can blow out Chicago, like Justin Jackson, Semi Ojeleye is probably going to get a good run of minutes tonight. Take that for what he's worth. He's known more as a defensive player for Boston. He's $3,600 on FanDuel. I can't imagine he's much more than min price over on DraftKings tonight. But again, he's probably someone that could see 25 minutes off the bench. They're going to need someone to spell Marcus Morris and Jason Tatum and whatnot. So, Ojeleye can hit. He's your 3-and-D guy, your classic 3-and-D for Ojeleye. But yeah, largely again, don't need to go there. Someone we didn't talk about actually, shooting guy was Josh Hart. What do you think about him?
I think he's viable all formats.
Okay.
I think it's scary because we saw him play 36 minutes in back-to-back games, and he put up one clunker, and he put up one game that won everyone all the money. So
right.
It's a risky cash play. I think you could do it because as long as he starts, he's going to see big minutes. So yeah, he's fine. LA, he gets an up-tempo he's playing down in pace, but that game, they're both top 10 in the league, so it's going to be an up-tempo pace regardless. So I like the pace of that game. So he's fine. I don't love him, don't hate him, but he's just like last piece. I have no problem putting him in my cash games.
All right, power forward Anthony Davis is at the top. Are you playing him or not?
You can. Am I personally doing it? No, I like Westbrook. I like LeBron more. But again, that's going to bite me in the ass. So I like him. I don't love him as much as I like LeBron and Westbrook though.
All right, Blake Griffin ruled out. Below them is the next tier: Aaron Gordon, Kyle Kuzma, Sabonis, and Tobias Harris over on FanDuel. And I'll throw Jason Tatum in there too. How do you decide between them four?
I think it's Tatum and Kuzma above the other two. Okay. I think Tatum's going to get a lot of usage here. There's not a big sample with all these guys off the floor, but I can't imagine, he's probably their most talented player in their starting lineup, at least in terms of offensive ability. Kuzma has been rolling. I don't love the matchup against Miami. Even though Whiteside's out and Adebayo's not the best shot blocker, he's a very good post defender. He's very good rim protector. So I don't love it. I think he is an elite tournament play, though. I think you can go. I'd almost skip Tobias Harris, and I'd go right to Draymond, honestly.
Okay.
I think Draymond is an elite play if there's going to be no minutes restrictions.
Just barely missed a triple-double against him earlier this year. 9 points, 9 rebounds, 11 assists. FanDuel, you get the extra point for blocks and steals, which is what we know Draymond is known for. Giving up a ton of size to Karl-Anthony Towns, who's absolutely dominated this matchup in the past, but Towns also isn't a great defender, which is kind of allows Draymond to, I think, do his thing as well. So Draymond at 67 is, I think, a really good number here as well, especially on FanDuel. On DraftKings, he's 72, I think? 71?
7,000.
7,000, yeah. So a little bit more pricey, not a ton, but you get that greater upside, I think, over on FanDuel. Mentioned on the podcast, love his price. FanDuel, Bam is a power forward. I think he's certainly in play.
Yeah.
Sucks that he's a power forward.
Right.
Use him as a center only on DraftKings, go figure. So you have to pick and choose, but he's more of a center. So I think that's something to look at. And then we have Marcus Morris and Trey Lyles are $5,600 and $5,500 each. How do you decide between the two tonight?
So it's easy on DraftKings, at least. You play Lyles because he's $3,700. I think on FanDuel you think about Morris because, like I said, that game is really intriguing to me. And Morris is going to go just under the radar because everyone's going to play Daniel Tice at that same position. So I think Morris is the contrarian play, and I don't know if I want to pay that much for Trey Lyles, to be quite honest with you. Even though he's starting, he did play like 30-plus minutes. It was great, but the total is scary. The length of that Memphis front court, scary. So on FanDuel, I prefer Morris. On DraftKings, Lyles is a shoe-in 3,700. That's just too easy.
Yeah, we got 3 value plays. One that's probably the chalk play of the slate, depending on the Al Horford news, which we still don't officially have, right?
He is officially out. He's
officially out. Good. Okay, so we do have it now. Rashawn Holmes, 4,500. Daniel Tyson, 44. And John Lure, 35. I think those are the 3 value guys to look at power forward on FanDuel. We've been talking about Rashawn Holmes forever. In this matchup against the Clippers last time, he put up 34 fantasy points in 17 minutes. Again, he's a point per minute beast. You can get him on the floor. GPP is only. Tice, I think you almost have to use now in cash games if he's starting. I don't love the matchup. I mean, he's going to be up against either Randall or Anthony Davis. Good luck to you, sir. Right. But he's really the only center, I put that in quotations, they have because he's sort of like an undersized big man. He stretches the floor. He can hit some threes. But, I mean, it's hard to ignore the 22, 10, 5, and 4 he had against Chicago the other day. I think people are going to be a lot of that fresh on their minds. And then I really wanted to play Blake Griffin. I've been saying it forever. I just love this matchup against Philadelphia for him because Blake just dominated. John Lure is not Blake Griffin, but Wilson Chandler is still Wilson Chandler. Mike Muscala is still Mike Muscala. They can't defend power forwards. Embiid's still going to be all over Drummond, so I think there's a path for Lure if he's starting, supposed to start. If he plays 25 or so minutes tonight, I think there is a path for him. He's min-price on both sides, so throw him out there.
I don't want to do it. I don't.
He wasn't a bad starter 2 years ago.
I know. He is like, when I talk about stand in the corner guys, like that guy, if you watch him play basketball, is a stand in the corner guy. But he's mid-price, so like even if he sucks, he doesn't sink our lineups.
Yeah, I mean that's how I look at it. I just sort of look at sort of how he's always sort of produced, I guess we'll say, when given the opportunity. And if you want to, my favorite thing to do is always look at the per 36. It's such an exaggerated stat, but it's like, multiply everything times the ratios. This year, in the 12 games he's played, if you do the per 36, 17 points, 10 rebounds, just throwing it out there. He can get it. So lower min price. Center, Joel Embiid, or do you fade him because of the matchup?
The matchup? Well, I mean, the spread, like this being scared of the blowout, right? Being scared of the blowout.
The matchup's great.
I don't think you fade Embiid here.
Okay.
Even just with the complaining about the role, the fact that he gets Drummond here, I think it just
take out his frustration.
Collides. Yeah. I think it just collides too. Like everything just aligns too well for Embiid not to just go nutty here. So the spread started at -2 and is now at 11.5, just with Blake Griffin not playing. I don't think Stanley Johnson's moving the needle. Sorry, Stanley. So the spread jumped 9.5 points with Blake Griffin being ruled out. So that's scary to me. They're also on the road, which also is kind of scary. But no, I mean, I get you. If they are going to win by double digits, Embiid's going to have a lot to say in this matchup about it. So no arguments here. Next guy for me is Towns. Again, he just had monster numbers last year against Golden State. He had a double-double this year against Golden State. He's 9.9K. You get a little discount on FanDuel from Jokic, who is starting to turn it around, but you mentioned 198 spread, Gasol against him. I don't love it. Gobert against Steven Adams, not a fan. Vucevic, I think you can do against DeAndre because I think Vucevic can step outside a little bit and get his own shot at least there. And he gets a big usage rate and fantasy point per minute bump with Fournier off the floor. 32.3 usage and 1.56 fantasy points per minute with Evan Fournier off the floor. So those are big numbers.
Yeah, huge numbers. Randall, even with playing next to Anthony Davis, has still been a monster. I'm not really shying away from him, I guess. I feel like if anything, Davis would be the one to come off the floor and they would just let Randall play. So I still think Randall's in play here tonight. You mentioned that Milwaukee is a really good rebounding team this year. I'm just remember rebounding teams from years past when they weren't a good rebounding team, and we always loved using centers against Milwaukee. But Tristan Thompson's got 3 19 rebound games over the last 5. So, I mean, maybe they're good against teams that don't have guys that want to rebound as much as he does.
Right.
Miles Turner against Washington with no center. We know the block upside's there. 7,200 in FanDuel, I think, is a very fair price for him. given his upside in GPPs. I love that. And then I think for my only other center I'd probably take a stab at here is Brook Lopez for me in that matchup against Cleveland. Rebounding numbers are finally starting to come around a little bit here. Did only have one against Toronto, but I mean, I don't expect him to go into the paint against Valanciunas. So, whatever. He had 19 actual in that game. Before that, 6'8", 9, 5'8", rebounding numbers on the rise. Even had a double-double a handful of games ago. So I think Brook Lopez is probably the cheapest center I go to.
Yeah, he's fine. Tournament, definitely a
This
tournament
is
play.
FanDuel, obviously. There's a lot of guys that are cheaper over on DraftKings you can use.
I would just throw out Willie Cauley-Stein as my last guy for tournaments.
Okay.
Big 226 spread. Bulls are, again, they're in turmoil. The Bulls are 23rd in defensive efficiency, and this could actually be a pretty up-tempo game. Two other teams that are also playing fairly fast. And I think Cauley-Stein on the fast break is going to have a lot of dunks tonight. A lot of dunks. And Wendell Carter Jr., we know, is foul happy, so
True.
He could get a bunch of trips to the foul line, too.
Does Joakim Noah interest you at all in his 18 to 20 minute a night role?
No. Maybe if Gasol decides to sit out one day, but not as of right now.
Okay, and then Robert Williams III, Celtics first round pick this year. If Tice gets in early foul trouble having to deal with Randall and Anthony Davis, he's the only other center on the roster right now. So the kid's a rookie, he blocks a lot of shots, probably more suited for FanDuel where he's been priced. If you want to punt center, I think he's another just GPP dart. If you're making a bunch of lineups, having him in one probably won't kill you.
Yeah. There's a reason he was called up today. They needed the depth. So,
yeah.
By the way, Jordan Clarkson officially game time decision just popped up.
Him and Rodney Hood.
Right.
So
they would have no guard depth. Colin Sexton and Alec Burks would literally have to play 48 minutes if neither of them played.
Yeah, get some Deli 25.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
All right, that does wrap up today's live stream. James and I will be in subscriber chat up to roster lock. Example lineups are finishing up right now as we speak. Those will be out momentarily. Get your questions in. We'll be here to answer them. Good luck, guys.
Later, guys.